I was saying, we are a modern recreation platform built by Google, Amazon, and Uber folks, and really excited to kind of revolutionize how people access their recreation departments. For us at Rec, the way that we think about AI in our core workflows is not just as a chatbot, but truly as something that's embedded as a teammate for you all and can help with time-intensive, repetitive tasks. It's been really incredible to see how this technology has matured over the last few years and the possibilities that are now available to all of us with that. So whether or not that's, managing your wait list, whether or not that's helping you with refund requests, which we'll talk a little bit about later, or providing voice support to your customers in multiple different language, there's just a ton of opportunity for how this technology can be applied. So with that, today our objective is to not just talk about the hypotheticals and ideas, but actually give you really actionable ways that you can implement or increase the use of AI in your department. I'm super excited to be joined by Allissa and Kevin, who have really led their departments in the AI revolution through, the work that they are doing every day and evangelizing the technology with their teams. I've learned a lot about how it can be used in workflows from just talking to them in the lead up to this call. So I'm really excited for them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their experiences. And just a reminder to everyone, you can drop questions into the chat and we will leave time for Q&A at the end. So Kevin, do you want to go ahead and kick us off with an intro?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Elise, for having me. So my name's Kevin McKee. I am a Deputy Parks and Recreation Director for the city of Scottsdale out in Arizona. We have about 240,000-ish residents, and our city grows like doubles in size during our busy tourist season. So, we host spring training, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, some of these big events that also lead to busy parks and a busy city. So really happy to be here and talk a little bit about AI, what we're doing out here in Scottsdale. I will, full disclosure, I'm not an AI expert. I probably fall somewhere in the middle of the technology spectrum where I'm not illiterate, but I know that I'm probably also only scratching the surface of all that AI can do. So really happy to be here. Really happy that Rec has been helping facilitate a lot of these conversations. I know they've had a heavy hand in connecting with recreation professionals out here in Arizona. So appreciate you continuing the conversation.
Awesome. Okay, Allissa, let's turn it over to you.
Hi, my name is Allissa. I work for West Linn Parks and Recreation in Oregon. I'm a rec coordinator and I do most of our special events. I'm also not an AI professional or technology professional, but it's just something that I'm super passionate about and like to explore my personal life and professional life, and have become kind of a in-house guru for all things tech, which has been a fun side project at work. We are a much smaller town and have a lot less going on than Scottsdale, but still have so much to do and get to have fun all day long.
Okay, awesome. So I want to just kind of dive straight into it. I think that AI is, quite a buzzword that we've all heard a lot about today. But beyond all of the hype, we've seen a lot of really practical ways that AI can be used to help in day-to-day operations. And so I wanted to get really specific on what that actually looks like for departments. So let's start with a simple but important question. How are you actually using AI in your department today? And Kevin, let's start with you.
Yeah, so we're probably using it in a lot of the same ways that any other recreation agencies are using it right now. So from a day-to-day perspective, we're using it for writing, like anything writing based. I oversee a lot of our division's communications. So taking a topic and turning it into a briefing item for our city council, and then taking that same item and turning it into a social media post specifically for Facebook, and then taking that and turning it into an Instagram caption, and then taking that and turning it into a full-blown press release. So a lot of those written-based tasks, I've found ChatGPT to be like super helpful for a lot of those things. From an event and programming perspective, helping plan out not only some creative activities for an event, but kind of how the event will flow and helping structure things out. I've used it for all types of different creative, whether it's mapping out a video storyboard and a script to do a voiceover for, a recent award that we won. So I think there's a whole list of things that we're using AI for. And again, we're just kind of scratching the surface. One thing that I think I'll be demoing in just a moment is a new tool that I came across about a month ago at our state associations conference called Napkin AI, which is a different AI tool that you can use. You can plug in information into it, and it gives you some really solid kind of graphical displays that you can plug into like a presentation or a report, just to jazz it up a bit.
Amazing. So I think actually before we move to Allissa and your answer to that question, Kevin, I think we should just take this opportunity to dive into the demo that you had prepared to show. I thought as you were describing this and how you use Napkin, this was a really cool application. So I'd love for this audience to see what your workflow is here and how you use these tools.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here, and hopefully everyone will be able to see it in just a moment. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. So something that you do a lot in a role like mine is making presentations, and in some cases presentations to advisory boards, to elected officials. So ChatGPT is a great starting place for me to organize my thoughts, organize my slides, like how I'm gonna kind of group things together. So we were asked a few weeks back to make a presentation to our Parks and Recreation Commission on our turf grass practices and kind of what that looks like from a seasonal maintenance perspective. So what we did was I worked with my counterpart, Chris, who's over our maintenance operations. We got all the information put together, kind of synthesized it, and then I went back into ChatGPT and asked it to take all that information and organize it so that I could plug it next into this Napkin AI tool to create some visuals to go along with my slides. So this was my prompt right here. Again, this was from maybe like a month ago. And from there, ChatGPT was like, here's a slide-by-slide presentation of napkin-ready AI content based on your PowerPoint outline. And it breaks down everything into a title, the key visual concepts to kind of focus on, and then the data and text to include in the infographics. So I took that, just did a little copy and paste, and went into this Napkin AI tool and pasted that in. And you can see each section is kind of grouped into different information. And from there, this is this slide 3 is showing the Bermuda grass growing season. So it took this information right here, and from there it created this visual, which then you can go in, you can change the style, you can change the colors. If it's not exactly what you're looking for, you can change the format. Super easy to use. It's a free tool. I didn't have to pay to use this. Let's see, there was one that I had on here that, so maybe this one, maintenance practices. So just to show you how it works, you can click on either specific information or the entire section. And then from there, it creates all these different styles of kind of graphical representations. Again, taking it 1, 2, 3 steps further from just a normal PowerPoint presentation to, you know, to kind of settle on something, change the colors to maybe match whatever your color scheme is, and then take that image and just plug it right into your PowerPoint presentation, which is super helpful.
Wow. And Kevin, have you been able to ramp up other members of the team to be using these tools as well, or is it something that you've been piloting yourself?
So both. And I think the more that I use it and the more that I understand it, um, the the more I can point to examples to other folks within our division. My counterpart, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, um, hadn't used ChatGPT up until a few months ago. And as we were talking a little bit more about it, he went in there, he was working on a job posting, and like within seconds prompted it and got everything that he needed and was blown away and is now using it on a regular basis. So I
Yeah.
think it's moments like that where, maybe more so in casual conversations, or in situations where you can, really show people the benefits in real time of the tools that you're using. I think that's the best way to get people to get on board with what you're doing. And
Yeah.
within our division, we have some real power users that have taken it to the next level, and ChatGPT and other AI tools have kind of transformed what they're doing. In some cases, you can take employees where maybe they would recognize that writing isn't their strong suit. Even something as simple as an email is now completely transformed and kind of changes your perspective of that employee just based on what they're able to do and how they can present themselves, by using a super effective tool like ChatGPT.
Yeah. Okay. You touched on a few things that I want to come back to in a moment on kind of getting wider adoption from your team and bringing everyone on this journey. But before we get there, I want to now move over to Allissa. If you want to present and share a little bit about how you guys are using it in your department.
Yeah, I use all sorts of AI. I'm going to focus today on how I use it creatively. I've always said that I am a crafty but not creative person. So I can bring things to life, but there's no ideas going on in here. So that's a place where AI has changed things dramatically for me. And I'm going to walk us through a little bit of chatbots and then some Canva stuff. So let's see here.
Awesome. I think the crowd will be very excited about the Canva use cases.
So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about Canva, chatbots. The best thing about chatbots is everything, but the worst thing about chatbots is everything. You have to really still bring your human brain to this computer and make sure that you are critically thinking through the things that are happening, things they are telling you. Chatbots are awesome. They can create anything from slide decks to articles to emails. They can plan you an entire Taylor Swift album drop party for Thursday. But like I said, you need to remember these are just algorithms. Right now, I'm having ChatGPT create, or actually Perplexity create a slide deck that I used in an Oregon Recreation and Park Association webinar about technology and AI. And it gave me the whole framework for the whole presentation, which was fantastic because it did a lot of the brainstorming and I could just roll with it. So we're going to do a really condensed version of that right now. So like I said, I use chatbots primarily for ideas and brainstorming, events, programs, projects, presentations, writing emails, hard to write letters. I hate asking people for donations for things. And so that's a place where I often get started, is with a chatbot. And then gathering information like a glorified Google, because it can filter some of the stuff for you and you're not getting a bunch of ads. And those are some of the more simple ways that you can utilize these things. I have had it write scripts for videos, which it shows on the screen right now. And then you can see my Taylor Swift party on the screen right now as well. There are so many things that it can just give you the framework for, and then you filter through and you bring it to life. Something that is a fantastic use is having it respond to overcomplicated and sometimes unkind emails without the emotion. So it takes my anger at receiving a complaint like this, and it gives me something that is just no emotion, tells the person exactly what needs to be said without anything else. And obviously, when you put stuff in there, you have to be careful of sensitive information. I removed names and anything that was personal from the chat and just gave it the information it needed to respond to the email. Awesome. A great thing about a chatbot is that you can ask follow-ups. So if you're not getting what you like or things are too broad, it will bring things down for you. So this is an example where I asked, what is AI? And it gave me a really complicated answer. And then I asked it to be a little bit more specific. And you can do that with literally everything without worrying about hurting a coworker's feelings over like, I don't like what you did. You can just tell the chatbot, I don't like what you did, do it again. And really take the emotion out of things, which is something that I look for in life. And for Canva is obviously fun and has so many things. There's no way I could even begin to brush the surface today on all the things, because things are coming out every minute, I swear, different tools in there. This is a list of some of them. We're going to go through a few of my favorites. Most of my favorites are creative based, which obviously Canva, but they are used to just get the framework for me and make things a little bit easier. So for Magic Write,
Actually, Allissa, can I ask you a quick question as you're going here?
Absolutely.
This was a question that actually came from the chat, but I think it's relevant to something you just mentioned when you were talking about responding to emails and, being able to word for word put in what was sent to you and then get a good response out of it. Does your organization have any types of internal or external policies around AI use? So using free tools, like this question came originally when you were talking, Kevin, about Napkin, but I think this is all relevant to what you are showing too, Allissa. So we'd love to hear, what are your organization policies around this, and how does that impact how you're using free tools like this?
Yeah, so currently we don't have any hard rules or policies about it. I foresee them happening very soon with just how quickly things are changing. And I definitely see where it could be a security issue for government agencies. And I'm personally very cautious when putting things in and when downloading them to my computer, but it's hard to know what's safe and what's not. So always check with IT first.
And it sounds like one really actionable way you can do this in the short term as policies are being created is doing things like stripping out that personal information, like the customer's name or email, and making sure that you're now just kind of generically putting this message you got from a customer in, are ways that you can take advantage of the free tools while making sure you're kind of protecting the policies. Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping to see in the coming years some stuff from our IT department about this. Obviously, I don't want them to restrict me, but I do think that it's important to have policies and be aware of what you're doing. Definitely educate yourself, and that's something I think I'll talk a lot about later on in the webinar. But it's yeah, good question.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So for Magic Write, to use it, you're going to just go to your Magic Write, and I'm going to have it write me something about our event in a couple weeks. I'm going to do so I can now, with just like basic information, no flashiness, just do a generic generation where it's going to give me a whole paragraph that I could put into a description or a more detailed flyer, or I can say, make it an Instagram caption. And then it's gonna shorten it, give me some fun emojis, and then you can copy it and use it in another program. You can use it in Instagram, or Hootsuite, and Hootsuite does the same thing, which is really cool too. And then I could make it longer and make me a short article. And then it's going to give me a longer version. So you can use it as your starting point and then edit from there. It'll give you all the fluff and words and fun stuff, and you just have to give it the details, which is wonderful. And you can use it in a PowerPoint if you give it a different prompt than this. I could just put it right here and have it be my slide, which is fantastic. The most fun thing is text to image, and that is there are so many apps where you can do text to image. The basic one is just the Canva Magic Media, and I'm going to have it do a fun little image. And I feel like this is something that we've all probably used, but it's, like I said, a great place to get started. You can bring so many things in your mind to life with this, and then you can use them to create your own artwork. So something that we do a lot is we start with AI, but then we have my coworker, who's an incredible artist, recreate something. So he took this image that I created on AI and was like, this is the inspiration I want for our event. And he made this, hand drew it. So it allows me to convey what I am looking for and give it to somebody to make it real. Or you can use whatever you can use the AI generated artwork as well. And we have there, you just have to keep some things in mind, like copywriting and your own moral choices. But there are a lot of ways to use AI without using AI, if that makes sense, without using it exactly. A great tool within Canva is all the photo editing tools. So you can remove backgrounds, which is super easy. You can cartoonify something to make a sticker. So this is a sticker that we have for one of our parks. And there are just a plethora of photo editing apps in here where you can do just about anything. And it's a lot of fun to play with. Something that Kevin talked about was voiceovers, and that's something that we use a ton. I'll just show him an example. And yeah, those are all of my examples that I have for today. But like I said, I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface of all the things you can do in here.
Amazing. I think there's probably a lot of questions about the marketing use cases specifically. We've heard that a lot come up from parks departments when we've talked about how AI can be really impactful. I want to talk a little bit about trial and error. And before we get there, I had actually just wanted to show something as well, in the spirit of kind of what are we all working on. Let me try to share my screen and not share my speaking notes this time. Okay. Can everybody see Accounting 101 here? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so this is something that we have been working on here at Rec when we've been thinking about like how do we get AI into workflows in a really helpful way. This came from us spending a lot of times with parks departments hearing about where do you spend your time on repetitive tasks and specifically on refunds and calculating refund policies and trying to decode what is in those huge lengthy refund policies to establish, when did this customer cancel? Exactly what were the circumstances? How much should I refund them? And so that was a really exciting place for us as a team to start our journey with AI and thinking about how can we really help improve this workflow. So this is an example. This is the section view within Rec right now. Here, unsurprisingly, we only had 2 attendees for Accounting 101, and both of them dropped out, and we're not excited about this program. So when I go in here and I go into the refund or cancel flow, we are just loading up that flow. And here we see an AI suggestion for this refund. So in this case, based on when this customer canceled, what's happening is we are reading the policy, the refund and cancellation policy from the City of Niagara. This is our demo organization from the policy that we put in there. And it's kind of telling us and explaining to us why, in this case, this customer is not eligible for a refund, and then actually referencing the part of the policy that it's pulling this recommendation from. So again, it's not going to go ahead and take that action on behalf of staff, but it's giving you the tools to spend a little bit less time having to do that calculation and instead kind of presenting the analysis to you. And now let's go back and take a look at Erin here, our other participant. I get into this refund flow and there is an AI suggested refund here. So in this case, it was a different policy based on when she canceled and how she originally paid. And so here we're seeing, again, like that rationale and then the actual calculation of how did we get to this recommended amount. And then the admins can go ahead and, in this case, we're recommending a cash refund. It's $10. You can go ahead and process that. And I wanted to share that anecdote today and also tell a little bit of a story about kind of how we got here, because I think trial and error and feeling initially discouraged when you start working with AI is a really natural part of the process. And so for us, when we started working on this feature originally, and we first launched it and we're looking at the accuracy, we started with in the single digits accuracy, like our suggestions were not mapping to the actions that the staff member would actually take here. And we spent a lot of time then going back and working on that prompt and working on the context to give it the proper understanding of admin fees, original payment methods, account credit versus cash or check, and actually refining the policies a lot so that the policies were really clear and really concise. And that led to a huge shift in the accuracy of these recommendations. And we got them up to 97% accuracy then. And I share that because it's so much of working with AI is trial and error. You try something, you get something back, you refine your prompt, you work on it, you put it in again, you get another set of results back, and you continue to build on it, and it gets better and better over time. And so, Kevin, I'd love to turn it to you to actually kind of continue this thread of discussion and hear from you what has your journey been like on trial and error, and have you found any tactics like saving a prompt or a context that has worked really well for you that you're now carrying forward as you use it?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is patience, and that I know it's tough, but I think coming to AI from a place of like I always look at AI as almost like a service animal. It's kind of as the way that I think of it, and you kind of like it's there to help you. It's not going to have all the answers, and it needs some guidance too. So you kind of have to help get it to where it needs to go. So being as specific as possible, spelling out some things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of right off the bat. But you know, for me, it's um, depending on what I'm doing, you know, a lot of times I'll clarify, like, I'm a deputy Parks and Rec director, and I want this to come from my perspective, speaking to the city council or speaking to my boss, or so I think anything you can do to be as specific as possible, and also know that it could take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 prompts in a row before you land on exactly what you want. You know, we saw earlier some of the image creation AI. That's where I see it a lot. Whereas if you're not super specific on what you're looking for, it's going to try to fill in the gaps, right? And try to guess what you're wanting. So any extra clarification or extra information you can plug into it to really be as specific as possible, you're going to get back out better information.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kevin, actually, maybe while we were talking a little bit about how you guys are using AI, you can also answer the question that Allissa had shared earlier. I think there's a number, when I'm looking at the questions that have been submitted, a lot of questions around policies, IT policies, and how you go about, you know, both consulting with the IT team, staying compliant to the policies, and also being able to leverage these tools. Can you talk a little bit about how that might differ for your department, or how you guys are operating with those constraints?
Yeah, yeah. So Scottsdale has really embraced AI as much as a government agency can, I guess. And so we have very specific administrative regulation. We have training that's rolled out just within the last 6 months. And Scottsdale has really been trying to um, lead and provide some more streamlined options. So in most cases, we have, you know, 4, 5, 6 different AI platforms that are kind of official approved platforms that the city of Scottsdale fully supports. Anything outside of that, you know, we can work through approvals, but, you know, just being cautious of what credentials you're putting in, you know, for tools that maybe aren't supported. There might be things that I am using that I'm, you know, plugging in my personal email and not putting in my city credentials for. So yeah, there's for sure some parameters that Scottsdale has in place to prevent and being very cautious of what types of information we're plugging into those AI tools to make sure there's nothing sensitive that we don't want to put in there.
Yeah. And Kevin, on the tools that you shared, are any of those, are they paid subscriptions for employees, or are these accounts that you have created?
So ChatGPT, yes, is paid, and a lot of our employees are starting to create their own kind of paid accounts through ChatGPT. So yeah, that's one instance where we have paid. But I will say, I've gone both ways, and depending on how much you're doing in one day, you might be able to work around what you're needing on a unpaid platform as well. So just because you might not have all the bells and whistles doesn't mean you shouldn't shy away from trying to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of scrappy ways that you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've always
you
used
can
the
make it, you can
unpaid
fix it.
version. I've always used the unpaid version of all the chatbots, and they are just fine. So
Awesome. Okay, and so Allissa, maybe coming back to you now, actually, with the question about trial and error. It looks like you are a wizard with Canva AI. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about your learning journey, and kind of same thing. Do you have any tips or tricks on actually working with AI when it comes to prompts, saved context, anything that you could share with this audience?
yeah, something that Kevin mentioned was image generation being like not perfect. Something that I do is I I ask the chatbot, so I'll ask ChatGPT to create me a prompt, and I'll kind of try and explain to ChatGPT what I'm looking for, and then make it create me a prompt for what I'm going to put into Canva. And ChatGPT can also create images, but when you're on the free one, there's a certain number. So I often just ask it to create me a prompt, and that's a really good trick that I've found. It made me that box prompt. It was cute. It was very successful. But otherwise, I really like how it saves your conversations. So I always try and go back if I am working on this presentation, I'll scroll back to where I originally worked on it. That way the bot already knows like the backstory. You don't start from scratch. You can pick up where you left off with something.
Yeah. Allissa, are there any gaps when you think about how your department is operating more broadly? Any opportunities or gaps that you see for the department to start using AI where they aren't using AI today?
Definitely. I'm super excited about the rec refund AI because that is something our department really struggles with, is just refunds in general are complicated and do require human like to filter through them. And so I'm really excited that there's going to be something that will take us to the next step and kind of give us the overview of what we need to know about the refunds. Um, that will be really cool. I think that there are a lot of tedious things that we do every day. I know that we all hate um, phone AI, but I think I answer the same question at least 20 times most days. And it would probably be really nice to have a automated answering service that could do a little bit of that for us. Obviously, not everything can be handled that way, but a lot of things can be. I set up our Facebook account. You can automate a lot of that. And I have created a bunch of half AI, half human created responses to things where people ask a question in Facebook, they'll respond. And I think that things like that could be very beneficial in just mitigating the number of phone calls and emails we receive with the same questions.
Yeah, that customer support side, lots of
Mm-hmm.
repeat questions. Something we're really excited about in that same vein is, not just kind of getting the answer to folks, but also increasing the accessibility of your support system. So being able to use some of the really powerful tools today that can then, speak to your customer in whatever language that they begin that conversation in, to just make it easier to interact with the Parks Department and access that information. Kevin, maybe same question for you. When you think about the department and the way that you guys are operating today, are there any particular areas that jump out to you as, repeat, tedious, or just new opportunities to engage customers that could really benefit from using AI?
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit. Anything. I think a lot about our reporting and having an ability to have a better way to find information and connect dots all in the same place. Right now, the way we operate when we're running our recreation software reports, for reservations or for programs, we're running those for specific outcomes versus just typing in, prompting something of like, where's our biggest opportunity for revenue? Where are we seeing our greatest wait list? What are underutilized facilities that we can target? And then taking it a step further, how should we do that? What would be a strategy from a communication strategy to a marketing strategy to really pinpoint some specific results? On the other side of the house, on our in terms of our park maintenance operations, that's probably what we hear the most about from our residents, which makes sense. It's the most kind of visible, has the highest interaction with the community. So I think from that side of the house, tapping into maybe some new technology to maybe it's identifying, species of invasive weeds and what a treatment plan might be for those. Maybe it's, a tree that's struggling and using some type of AI to snap a picture of it and identify what exactly is going on and how they can best mitigate it. I see a lot of great potential with our maintenance side of operations for sure.
Yeah. Maybe I will pick up this question that came in on working with vendors who have AI integrated into their software, and how if your departments have policies around that, or if the procurement process has changed at all as you are evaluating vendors who are using AI. Kevin or Alyssa, I'll open this up to either of you. I can also talk a little bit from the vendor side, kind of what we are seeing. But if either of you have had kind of experience going through that procurement process with AI, would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I can start. I think while I'm not a procurement or IT expert, I would imagine that would be written into solicitation for sure. And something that's probably unique now is that probably is going to be a baseline ask for just about any big type of IT related procurement. Asking for some type of AI component. I know we were not too long ago with a group of other Arizona recreation agencies talking about this and talking about the future of recreation software solicitations and how that's really is going to be a requirement. Really, is some type of AI optimization within the platform that can help do what we need it to do.
Yeah. I would say on the vendor side, if you aren't involved with government, the GovAI coalition, it's something that, we've been a part of and attended a lot of meetings and been able to use a lot of resources that they share forward to vendors. There's a pretty comprehensive survey and AI fact sheet that they've published for vendors to fill out that talks about, there's some other questions in this Q&A, a little bit about like data protection, privacy. A lot of that is covered in that comprehensive form that you fill out, and kind of detailing how your company is using AI, how you're protecting data, et cetera. So, a plug for that organization who's doing a really great job setting up that infrastructure and those foundations. It's been really easy to work with as a vendor, and hopefully that's setting the right framework for IT teams and all of you folks as you guys are procuring software. We have a couple minutes left, and I want to talk a little bit about adoption and the challenge of adoption with AI and within departments. And so maybe, Alyssa, kind of turning it over to you, you can talk a little bit about the willingness of your department or kind of maybe broader team to adopt AI, where you've seen a lot of excitement around it, or where you've seen challenges in, getting people enthusiastic about this type of technology.
Yeah, we are miles behind on all technology. When I started here, everything was just paper and pencil, which is good for what it's good for. And I have helped us kind of bridge that gap. And something we already talked about was patience. It's just a lot of learning and changing the way things are done. So I have made sure to pitch AI as a starting point and not like the end all. And it's been easy for people to kind of utilize some tools in that way. And I've been really lucky that my whole team is excited and supportive of all things tech. They're all into making things more efficient and better. So I don't have a lot of good advice on people who give pushback because I've been really lucky, but I think it really is just taking the time and teaching people how it's going to make their jobs and their lives easier, and just showing the full picture so that they can see beginning to end. And wow, that is actually going to streamline everything that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kevin, I know that you had mentioned earlier in the call having trainings within the department, and it sounds like you guys are kind of doing a lot to set up and bring your whole team on board. Can you maybe talk about the same question as Allissa? Like, where have you found excitement? Where have you found maybe some resistance to change? And how is your department bringing everyone on this journey?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we can do, in the spirit of really what you all are doing today. Just having a conversation is where a lot of that buy-in starts, of just making people aware of what's out there and how they can use it and how it might impact their day-to-day work. I've tried to incorporate things into my all staff meetings, or hey, I created this AI generated image of a zip line coming from City Hall. That was a real example that I used, trying to for an icebreaker of what's the craziest thing that you wish you could bring to our city. So I think finding ways to incorporate it and show people, like, I use this and this is what I was able to do with this. And it kind of leaves them thinking like, oh, wow, like, okay, tell me a little bit more. Leaning into some of your power users, you're naturally going to have some people that are just really interested in AI and how they can use that. So kind of letting understanding what they're doing, how they're using it. One of our employees has used it for taking it a step further from Placer AI, which kind of gives you some using cell phone data to kind of track how many people are at a location within a certain amount of time. We've used that a lot for like both park attendance and event attendance. He's kind of questioned some of those numbers at times, and has taken it a step further to plug in not only information from Placer AI, but then creating his own GPT and adding images from the event, drone images, and some information about the event to come up with the best possible estimate of how many people are coming out to our special events, which is awesome. So I think encouraging that, continuing a conversation. We're going to have our IT team out this Friday to meet with our leadership team to talk about, hey, what else is out there? And it has to be, I think, an ongoing conversation, because there's new programs popping up all the time. It's constantly changing and improving. So keeping the conversation going and illustrating to people what those uses are, I think, is the most important.
Yeah. Have you found that any, like, really kind of practically, you've talked, I think you both had mentioned champions within your departments, and it sounds like you both are champions of AI within your departments. Are there kind of tactical things that you would recommend for departments on, have a lunch and learn, have a training, you mentioned like one-on-one conversations with people, or anything you can kind of share with this audience who's thinking about how they tackle this within their own department?
Yeah, I mean, I will always start with, if someone's coming to me with a project or something that they need to do, one of the first questions I ask is, have you tried AI? Have you used AI? So I think leading with that and seeing everything through an AI lens, even if you try it and you end with, I don't think that was the way to do it. I think in more cases than not, the AI tools that are out there will help you get a better result than what you started with. But I think being curious and starting with AI with every situation and kind of going from there is a strategy that I've used, and I've encouraged employees, again, as we're talking through things. Even my wife's prepping for a retreat for all of her employees, and I was like, hey, I just had a retreat a few months ago, and I really used it to help structure the day. And she was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I think starting with that and trying to incorporate that into the conversations and the solutions that we're having has worked for me.
I think what you mentioned, mini trainings can be really useful. So we have like our rec team meetings every other week, and I will sometimes just kind of show something cool. And it's fun because then you get ideas from other people where it's like, oh, can I use it to do this? Yes, let's figure out a whole new way to utilize something. Um, so I like to do little sessions where I get to teach people.
Yeah. I mean, when in doubt, ask ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever AI tool you use as you are trying to come up with how do we. I love that example of the offsite or the retreat. There's so many ways you can use it as a thought partner. When you don't know where to start, asking it where to start is probably the best way for you to actually get started. I would love to hear from folks in the audience now. We've gotten through a couple of questions. If you have more, please throw them in there. Um, it looks like there is one question, Allissa, for you on Canva, talking about image generation and how you work with it. I think, as we know, this technology is still evolving. So getting things like a logo or words, getting really specific with what you want to see can sometimes be challenging. Can you share any tactics that you've used when it comes to that? Or it sounds like there's a certain point in which you then loop in someone from your organization who can do that. Maybe you can share how you tackle that challenge.
Yeah, I do a lot of like I said, I do a lot of like dual creating. So if it has to have words, I do that myself. So I will put the words in. I never ask it to make words because it's just not worth your time, in my opinion. I will put those in. I'll take whatever I've created, drop it into the Canva, and alter it with that. Um, you can also try out all the different apps within there. So if there is like a specific logo making AI app in Canva where it will give you those generic, more pretty logo type things. And if you want to recreate that with shapes yourself, you definitely can. And then you can really tweak it to be exactly what you want. But I think the best way to utilize it is as a starting point. Like we've kind of said, it will give you things that you want to use and use them. Like that's fantastic when it works, but it's not perfect. It's just a computer and you're not always going to get exactly what you ask for. So I recommend just keep trying, and it's still worth your time, even if it takes a couple extra tries, because you are saving time on having to start from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Kevin, you had mentioned GPTs, like a member of your department who had created a GPT. And I think one of the big values there is you can do things like someone had touched on memory before earlier, you can add more context to that GPT. So I've heard from departments concerns on marketing materials of we don't want it to sound really generic. We want it to sound like our department in tone, in voice, maybe in the way we kind of structure our sentences. And I think there's some really interesting ways that you can leverage those types of tools, context, knowledge, memory, to get to better results on an ongoing basis. Kevin, have you seen any enthusiasm to use GPTs or kind of create that as a more scalable solution within the department to say, like, talk to the marketing GPT, talk to the legal GPT?
So yeah, so I mentioned how I'm maybe like somewhere in the middle in terms of tech savviness. I definitely see this concept of building out larger GPTs as kind of the next level. And I mentioned one of my employees in particular has created his own GPTs to kind of create that own little environment where there are things that maybe don't have to reiterate or prompt every single time that you want it to come from that perspective. There was a really great presentation that was virtual during the NRPA conference just a few weeks back that I just watched, and it's all about creating a GPT for your division that I would highly recommend if anyone has access. I believe it was maybe Park Forest, somewhere in Chicago, one of the Chicago suburbs that has really embraced AI, but creating a GPT that's really specific to the division and the services that division provides, and creating every answer kind of coming from that perspective. Yeah, that's definitely the next level of where I would love to get at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I know we are right at the end now, so I will wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was really great to have everyone here and part of this conversation. Specifically, Allissa, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what your departments are doing. I think that was really inspirational, and based on all the questions coming in and engagement, I think that was incredibly helpful for all of the folks who joined today. If you're interested in joining Rec's newsletter and you want to hear more about, this is kind of the first of many upcoming webinars where we want to talk and unpack and explore the potential of AI, please scan the QR code on your screen and join our newsletter. If you have ideas of how you want to see AI come to life in your department or your recreation software more specifically, refunds are the tip of the iceberg. Lots coming up there. Please shoot me a note, shoot us a note. We would love to hear from departments on what's top of mind for you and what matters to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today, and have a great rest of your day.